From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
New targets for biofuel blending, but separation exists over those ethanol waivers.
This issue is divisive, and often it pits refiners versus agricultural community.
Sweeping changes in government structure.
I call this the Drain the Swamp Cabinet meeting.
Machinery Pete will help you with your lawn, and market prepping for the week ahead.
This week has been a stark reminder for us that no matter how bullish you want to get, no matter how friendly you want to get the market for the right reasons, you never know what's around the corner.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. As the Trump administration continues to search for a win-win for the renewable fuel standard, changes to the policy still facing pushback. Early estimates showing EPA will call for 19.9 billion gallons of biofuels to be blended into the nation's gasoline and diesel supplies in 2019. That's about 3% higher than a year ago. Breaking it down, EPA will require 15 billion gallons for conventional biofuels like corn-based ethanol. That's unchanged from last year. The EPA administers the RFS, a law first signed back in 2007 that requires refiners to blend biofuels into the nation's fuel supply. Otherwise, those refineries must buy credits to be in compliance with the law. But some refiners were granted waivers from the law. Ethanol supporters are wondering who's going to make up the difference in meeting those biofuel quotas. And despite several high-level meetings at the White House to find common ground, the two sides have not come to terms. Tyne Morgan reports.
It's a biofuels battle ingrained in controversy. News rippled through the agriculture sector earlier this month that the president planned to release a biofuels plan that allowed E15 year-round. But the rumored plan also would place renewable identification numbers, or RINs, on ethanol exports. After an uproar from the pro-ethanol groups, the president paused that release. Agriculture Secretary Sonny Perdue talking to U.S. Farm Report the morning after the decision.
Well, the president told me last night that he was not going to sign anything that farmers weren't happy with. And you know, there's been some concern over attaching RINs to the export credits there. And I think that's, again, a support that he's tried to give our farmers all along and fulfill his commitment to RFS that he made during the campaign.
It's that commitment from the campaign trail that had the Renewable Fuels Association thanking the president in this commercial.
Family farms are the backbone of this country. We are going to protect the renewable fuel standard.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect, for your leadership.
As RFA and other groups continue to hold the president's administration to that promise, Perdue says summertime E15 is still in the works.
We don't need to lay out the pathway necessarily, but we won't stop. It's important. We think it's the right thing to do.
White House Legislative Director Mark Short telling AgDay that while the administration understands agriculture's desires on the RFS, an RVP waiver may not come without concessions.
This issue is divisive, and often it pits refiners versus agricultural community. What the president's been working on with several members of Congress is to say, if we were to provide E15 for 12 months a year as a rule, then could we also provide some relief to refiners that allows them to get credit for exporting RINs, which is really pretty technical. But we think that that would help boost demand for ethanol, demand for corn, would help farmers. We think that's a win-win formula.
One issue creating waves within the administration is EPA's recent work to grant small refinery waivers, when in reality, court documents show those waivers are going to large oil refiners.
We're fairly frustrated about that, honestly, and I viewed it sort of as a circumvention of what the president has insisted over the 15 billion gallon.
It's that action that took over Senate Farm Bill discussions this month.
And recent reports indicate that dozens of small refinery waivers have been granted to large refining companies, effectively reducing the 15 billion gallon target for the RVO, the renewable volume obligations.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar withdrawing her biofuels proposal from the Senate Farm Bill, but saying it's a fight she's not giving up.
Recent reports have noted that the EPA has already issued 25 disproportionate hardship waivers this year.
Klobuchar, along with Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, sending a note to the EPA in April to let the agency know the waivers are bad for the industry and the RFS.
Pruitt was in Kansas, and the news reports is that he says that he has the authority for when waivers are given for those gallons that aren't mixed because of that waiver that he can reallocate. Well, he ought to be reallocating.
Ethanol groups petitioning EPA this week to change its regulations to account for lost volumes of renewable fuel. But it's mixed messages from EPA Administrator Pruitt that's been a vocalized pain point for Grassley.
And if Pruitt can't deliver, I want somebody else in there to do it.
It's questions about the RFS farm groups hope to get cleared up soon, as corn prices are in a free fall, now back below break-even prices on the farm. Reporting for AgDay, I'm Tyne Morgan.
Under federal law, the EPA has until November 30th to finalize the annual biofuel targets. As soon as today, the Senate is expected to take up its version of a new farm bill. Debate may start Monday with the possible vote on the bill Tuesday. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell saying strategically it's a good idea for Republicans to get a farm bill done before the elections. Who oversees the food we eat? There's no easy answer, and one reason the Trump administration wants to reorganize federal government agencies. President Trump signed an order in March of 2017 calling for a review of the federal government. Its goal was to identify those redundancies. Many of the proposals would require congressional approval and are expected to face significant opposition from both Democrats and some Republicans. Mick Mulvaney, who's director of the Office of Management and Budget, presented the plan at President Trump's cabinet meeting last week.
If you make a cheese pizza, it's governed by the Food and Drug Administration. If you put a pepperoni on it, that's governed by the USDA. If you have a chicken, it's governed by the USDA. If that chicken lays an egg, it's covered by the FDA. But if you break the egg and make it into an omelet, that is now covered again by the USDA. If you have an open-faced roast beef sandwich, that's one or the other. But you put the bread on top of it, it's the other one. A hot dog, the hot dog meat is governed by one. You put it in a bun, it's governed by another. One of my favorites, if you have a saltwater fish, you have a salmon, and it's in the ocean, it's governed by the Department of Commerce. Once it swims upriver, it's governed by the Department of Interior, and to get there, it has to go up a fish ladder governed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. This is stupid. This makes no sense.
Some of the proposed changes include renaming the Departments of Health and Human Services to the Department of Health and Public Welfare. That agency would take over government programs like SNAP from USDA. The plan would also reorganize USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service and the food safety functions of the Food and Drug Administration into a single agency within USDA. Now, the administration's proposal would move USDA's rural housing program to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Mike Hoffman joins us once again this morning. He has today's crop comments. Good morning there, Mike.
Good morning to you, Clinton. Let's start off in Broadview, Montana. Michelle Jones says haying season has been in a week-long rain delay due to 2.5 to 3 inches of rain. We've already exceeded our total average annual rainfall for the year, she says. And over in Shickley, Nebraska, Jeremy Rowe showing us the daily breakfast routine for his fat cattle. He received some rain which pounded the western corn belt, but said he was fortunate compared to other farms in that area. And taking a look at the drought monitor, you can see the dry areas still from northern Missouri into the panhandles of Oklahoma, Texas, back through the Four Corner region, and other parts of Texas kind of turning dry as well. We'll check out how much rain fell over the last week and have your forecast coming up. But first, here are some hometown temps.
Keeping track of the shifting market prices has never been so easy. Get the latest commodity prices sent directly to your cell phone with market updates. Just text Markets 8 to 31313 to get started.
Well, did markets teach us anything last week? We've got Matt and Dwayne here to talk about it. That's coming up next at the Agribusiness Desk. And later, it's summer camp time for these kids in Louisiana.
Ag Day, brought to you by Top Third Ag Marketing. Farmer first with a plan for every market.
In agribusiness, let's find out how those markets closed on Friday. For that, we head to the floor of the CME in Chicago.
Soybeans finally rebounded. The short covering relieved some of the bearish pressure. Thank goodness it was long overdue. Overall, the fact that we were up about 15 cents today really sounds great, but it's pretty small in the grand scheme of things of how low we actually went. So we haven't seen these numbers in quite a while. So the recovery could be slow as long as the talks with China and the tensions are still going back and forth. So we're going to have to watch that closely. Corn was firm, but really kind of steady today. It seems that competing fundamental news is is holding the futures up. There has been better exports from Mexico and Panama. That's a positive, but favorable weather is, capping any real rally possibilities. Cattle was steady today. Traders were really hoping for a replay of last week. We were holding our breath all week trying to get something going here. We're not sure how it was. There has been some cattle sales. That's all from the floor at the CME Group here in Chicago. I'm Virginia McGathy.
Here at the Agribusiness Desk, we have Matt Bennett and Dwayne Bussey joining us to talk about what did we learn last week, guys. Markets were kind of a mess. We had some tariff talks. We've had some ups, some downs. It's been a little bit wild. Matt, we'll start with you. What do you think?
Tariffs are bad, bad, bad. and a farmer has to understand, producers have to understand, we've had so many opportunities to market this year.
Sure.
At levels we didn't really expect we were going to get a chance to market
absolutely right.
in January. And so this week has been a stark reminder for us that no matter how bullish you want to get, no matter how friendly you want to get the market for the right reasons, you never know what's around the corner, and you can sleep a whole lot better at night whenever you lock in profit margins, at APH levels, which we had a chance to do for quite some time this year.
Dwayne, what did you learn this last week?
I learned this year is much more volatile than last year. Last year we were about falling asleep watching the markets at this time, but I really just double up on everything Matt said. Yeah, tariffs are bad. They're very bad, I guess. But remember that these markets trade on emotions, and like Matt says, if you step back and look at the big fundamental picture, it's not as bad as it really was this week.
Were you surprised it didn't move further? Were either of you surprised by that?
Further down?
Further down, that we didn't see more?
No, I guess I was surprised as far down as it went. Funds are getting short now, and Matt and I have talked before. I don't know if that's a good idea when we still have a weather window open here.
It's not the time of year you usually see them get short.
Right.
And so am I surprised it didn't go down more? Not really. We've taken such a stark move in soybeans, almost $2 lower. And that, to me, that's enough, to get the attention of everyone. And we do have cheap beans on the world market. I do think it's a good thing for us from a demand perspective. In my opinion, we've done enough damage for the time being. I think going into this time of year, be very interesting to see if the funds try to pile on shorts, because I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, real quick, Dwayne, what are you watching this week as we get started?
We'll be looking at the acreage report at the end of this week, definitely. Acres are swinging either way is always a big deal on the fundamental supply and demand.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it. Thank you both for being here. We'll be back with more AgDay in just a minute.
For marketing advice, call Bolt Marketing, a futures and options brokerage firm. For advice on the best way to be profitable on your farm, contact Matt at 217-273-1133.
Welcome back to AgDay. Our meteorologist Mike Hoffman. Mike, as we look at the rainfall over the past week, well, you can see where that system really worked up through Texas, but it stayed east.
Yeah, it didn't go very far west. The models kind of had it going farther west into central Texas, but just didn't happen. So all that rain really did miss central portions of Texas into central Oklahoma. I want to point out a few things, though. You can see parts of the panhandle of Texas, Oklahoma, southwest Kansas had 2 to 3 inches of rain. A few spots southern Arkansas, over into northern Mississippi and Alabama, but the bulk of the rain fell in 2 places. One was a very small area, although it includes a lot of people here, from Brownsville, Corpus Christi up through Houston, with areas getting 3 to 6, even up to 8 inches of rain in places. That moisture, that tropical-like system, then moved farther north. Now, farther north is where we had widespread soaking rains. Look at all the rain, basically, from northwest Kansas on up into the Rapid City area, over across southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, areas that don't need the rain at all, into the western Great Lakes. Much of that area ended up with 2-3 inches of rain, some places even a little bit more than that. Here's the jet stream as we start this week. We have another slow-moving storm system, almost a cutoff there, moving through the northern plain states into the western Great Lakes by the middle of the week. Lots of heat through the south, as you can see. By the end of the week, kind of zonal flow for a brief period of time, and then it looks like a trough develops out west. Next weekend, that builds a ridge and some heat into the Great Lakes and northeast, and that heat continues through the southern tier of states as well. Here's my forecast for this week as far as temperatures go, from northeastern Texas all the way up through the Great Lakes into much of the northeast, above normal temperatures. That includes most of the Corn Belt, Tennessee, Ohio valleys. Below normal then for the northern portions of the Rockies. The rest of the country pretty close to normal, I think, for this time of the year. Precipitation for this week, with that slow-moving system, we're talking about eastern South Dakota, eastern Nebraska, all the way across the Great Lakes, getting above normal amounts of rain into the northeast. Now, I'm hoping that includes those really dry areas, northern Missouri, southern Iowa, but that's going to be a close call on that. Below normal for Texas and most of the Rocky Mountains. 30-day outlook for temperatures above normal in those dry areas, I think. Above in the southeast mid-Atlantic, above western states, and then also Four Corner region southward below normal. Above normal expected for the far northern plains across the lower Great Lakes and also in the southwest. Below normal northeast and northwest. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Heading to Ely, Nevada, first of all, lots of sunshine and hot today, high of 93 degrees. Ortonville, Minnesota, mostly cloudy, showers and a thunderstorm likely, high of 73. And Decatur, Alabama, partly sunny, an afternoon thunderstorm in spots, high 92.
Machinery Pete is coming up next.
Hey, stay tuned, folks. Coming up, we're going to talk used batwing mower values.
And later we're off to camp with kids in Louisiana, where this event has been shaping lives for a century. Summer rains and mowing seem to go hand in hand. Machinery Pete helps us out with one of those things from his home office in Minnesota. Pete?
Well, folks, when it's time to mow, it's time to mow. Which means this time of year, if you're looking to buy a batwing mower, you might pay a little more money for one. And I actually saw this play out last Thursday on Sullivan Auctioneer's big absolute consignment auction in Hamilton, Illinois, where this super sharp 2015 model John Deere HX15 15-foot batwing mower was up for sale. And it went for $15,000. Now, I had to go back 42 months to find one sold as high. And that was back in December of 14 on a farm auction in northeast Missouri, where a 13 model, never been used, sold for $16,000. And actually, that $15,000 sale price last Thursday, that's the third highest auction price ever on an HX15. Now, for a little comparison here, some perspective, the current average auction sale price this year on an HX15 is $9,722. And last year, average auction price, $9,200. Now here's the real kicker. The current average dealer advertised price on an HX15, a 15 model, $13,774. Now folks, if you are looking for a batwing mower, again, there's some great deals at dealers around the country. And if you go to machinerypete.com, we've got over 1,000 batwing mowers listed for sale. Tell those dealers you saw it on machinerypete.com.
100 years is a long time to build a legacy. Next, we're headed to Louisiana to see how one 4-H camp has been influencing kids for 10 decades.
In the country, brought to you by Kubota. Learn more about Kubota SSV Series skid steers at Kubota.com or demo one at your local Kubota dealer today.
Summer camp is a rite of passage for kids, and for nearly 100 years, young people throughout Louisiana have attended summer camp at a 4-H center. While the 4-H camping program has evolved, having fun and learning continues to be essential elements. LSU Ag Center correspondent Craig Gautreaux has this report.
Tranquil trails, meandering creeks, and rustic cabins can be found throughout the Grant Walker 4-H Educational Center located near Pollock in Grant Parish. But during a typical summer week, more than 400 campers will be building, cooking, and swimming as part of the LSU Ag Center's 4-H summer camping program. Mo Parks, who is serving as a lifeguard this year, has been involved with the program for much of her life.
I ended up becoming a counselor for about 5 years, so this is my 11th year on camp, and it just has always, it's like a family basically. It just continues to grow.
Campers are allowed to pick from numerous tracks and spend the week learning about that one topic. One of the more popular tracks involved water safety instruction.
I learned like the different type of life jackets that you would wear, the different type of boats you would use in different like places, like in a lake or an ocean.
I did make a lot of new friends in this track, and we did a lot of fun stuff. The counselors here were super nice to us and always did stuff for us to make us happy.
4-H camp is known for making memories, and it is these memories that bring people back to volunteer and help serve as staff.
You know, I love coming back out here. It's honestly a little slice of heaven in North Louisiana that you don't get to go to too often, so I enjoy it.
Creating a fun experience is vital to any summer camping program, and with a wide assortment of activities, it was evident the campers were enjoying themselves.
Really anything outside, I've noticed, everyone's got smiling faces. As long as they're, hydrated and having a good time, they're loving just about everything out here.
With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gotro reporting.
And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. It's been part of your day with us. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.